All right, I think we're in here.
We live.
Yeah, yeah. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to Larry's Library, and I've got Scott Buoncristiano, fabulous
Hello.
artist. Yep. I really thank you for being here, man, and taking a chance on a small channel. You could have went to somebody a lot bigger, but
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. You have a great channel, and I'm happy to be on it.
yep, appreciate it. So, so what is it like working with Jerry Duggan? I mean, he's got a huge following.
Uh, it's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great. So this is my first comic, and to be
Okay.
able to work with such a seasoned veteran and learn a lot from him, just like
Yeah.
going through it. And I have little questions, and instead of both of us being like, oh, I don't know, he's got to answer. And just it's interesting because not knowing a lot of the business part of it, because he's been in it so long, I get to pick his brain about
Yeah.
certain things, and he's just a
Yeah.
wealth of knowledge, and he's a great guy. Like he's a good
That's cool.
friend.
I don't know a lot about him. I'm really know him from his run on the Hulk. I did read that, but I know he's got a huge following because on all the other channels you get in the chats there, and people
Yeah.
they're all about Jerry Duggan. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Deadpool was probably his biggest.
Big
I
one.
think that was his longest run, and then he's been on X-Men
Yeah.
for the past year plus, 2 years, something like
So
that.
this is your first comic. So what was you doing before that? Was you in like commercial art or?
Yeah, I do. I did a lot of commercial art. I still do. My focus has kind of shifted to comics,
Mhm.
but I did a lot of commercial art, a lot of poster art for bands, like touring
Yeah,
bands.
yeah. I seen some of that on your webpage, and
Yeah,
I did link all your stuff up in the description. All that
oh,
I found. I found your Instagram and your website,
cool.
and I think your Twitter.
Yeah,
You have to let me know if I left anything out. I'll put it in there.
that's it. All I can handle are
Okay.
two social media things, and it's mostly Instagram and a little bit of Twitter. Twitter's like the afterthought of Instagram. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I'll throw that stuff on here too. See if it gets any hits.
Yeah, I seen some of your music poster art on your
Hmm.
gallery. My son-in-law does some of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he did some stuff for. I think he just recently did a Violent Films poster,
Oh,
and
awesome.
he's done some Melvin stuff.
Yeah, I did
Yeah.
some Melvins
Did
too.
you? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I bet
They
he's seen
just
your
I
stuff.
mean
He's probably familiar with it.
yeah, they tour relentlessly. So they're always doing posters for their shows.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
if you notice Reed Chancellor's name on some of them, that's my son-in-law.
Reed Chancellor. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
keep an eye
Some
out.
pretty good stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, so I did a lot of poster work, a lot of work for, publishing companies. I did a lot of Harry Potter work back in the day for publishing company called Insight Editions.
Mhm.
And they kind of gave me my first big break. So I work with them a lot. Recently, I've been doing tons of beer labels.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, for Revolution Brewing out of Chicago. They had a big revamp, so I've been working with this great design team called the Mighty Few. Working with them and doing that stuff, and doing comics and trying to figure out
Get your
comics.
way there. Yeah. So, was you a comics reader before you started doing the art? Okay. I think yours is frozen. I don't think mine is, but it could be either one.
Oh, do we
Are you
got?
back?
Yeah, we
Okay.
had, we had
What
a
did you hear
live
last?
moment.
Yeah. No, I was asking you, was you a comics reader before you got into comics at all? Or
Yeah, yeah. So back since when I was a kid, it was
yeah,
like my biggest. I saw, John Buscema, Conan
yeah,
stuff, and
yeah,
I
me
was
too.
just, it was like my uncle's stash of comics, and I found them, and I was just like, my eyes bugged out of my head.
Yeah, that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was hooked, and that was like, whatever, early 80s. And my father is a pharmacist. He used to own his own pharmacy. And way back then, they still had the spinner racks and stuff. And I'd go in, get a slush puppy, and, get a comic book. And it was all just like random stuff. Like at that age, I didn't know there was any continuity. I thought that everything was just a little one shot. So I'd read it and,
Yeah, and I would get in the middle of a massive storyline, and it didn't really bother me at all. I'd be like,
no,
well, that was something that happened. Maybe I'll find those one day, and I didn't care.
Yeah, to me, it was a mystery. Just like, wow, these open-ended stories, they're just like out there to tickle my brain, and like I'll figure out the rest or something. But the issues I had, there was I always gravitated towards the Micronauts.
Oh yeah, I love Micronauts. I got all of those, man. I love that stuff.
I didn't have many, but whenever I saw them, I would pick them up, and they would just like blow my mind, like just that.
Yeah, I just love that. And what tragedy that happened with Bill Mantlo. I guess you heard about that.
I didn't.
Well, apparently he had an accident. I think he was roller skating on the street, and he got hit by a car.
Jeez.
And man, he had messed his brain up, and yeah, he couldn't. He hasn't been able to write since. Yeah, it's pretty horrible. It sounds like Marvel made good with him, though. They did include his name, on the stuff he created in the movies, and the Guardians,
awesome.
And
good.
Yeah, so he didn't write after that at all. He couldn't. He was even had a law degree, I think. He was a lawyer.
Eesh.
Really interesting guy.
Yeah, I want to read up on
tragedy.
That's sad, but damn, that's like me, breaking or losing my arm or something.
Yeah, it's just horrible to contemplate that. Yeah. Hey, Mark Spector series says, "Good evening, boys."
Hello.
Hey. I was wondering if you were into comics before that, so I'm glad I got to ask that.
Yeah, so it was. My comics DNA is weird, so I had that when I would read them when I was young.
Yeah,
and then I went into the restaurant industry at like 16 years old. Didn't touch a comic book for 20 years. I didn't really start drawing until I was like 34 or something like that.
Wow.
I was like a career restaurant, and I was a bartender and a manager and stuff like that. And somewhere, I think like in my late 20s, early 30s, I broke my leg, and I was laid up, and I broke it doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and my buddy who I trained with, who actually broke my leg, he was like, he felt so bad, and he came over to my place, and he's like, here, I don't know, these will keep you busy. And he handed me a stack of, it was like all the Hellboys.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I was like, I hadn't heard of Hellboy before. I didn't know much about it or anything, or the comics. And I was just like, I read them, and I was just like, oh, that's what comics is up to nowadays. Like, because I left off at like, in the late 80s, early 90s at that craziness and into the Image stuff.
Yeah, I kind of skipped most of the heyday in the 90s of the shoulder pads and all the multiple chrome covers, and I kind of skipped most of that, and then I came back.
I was into a little bit of that, like I think the front end of that era, and then I just was working, and my brain was just not in art or comics or anything like that. It was a different lifestyle. But yeah, so got reintroduced to the Hellboy stuff, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. So then my interest was piqued again, and I'd like casually read some here and there. And then when I started doing the art stuff, when I was about 34-ish, I was working with a friend who was a printmaker, and that's where I learned how to do all the posters and the printing and stuff. And my interest in art popped back in. So I
Right.
picked up some of my old comics that I still have in the box that thankfully my parents never threw away. So I grabbed those.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, I'll put you on the spot. So who's your favorite artist, you think? If you had to name, like, say, 3 or 4, what?
I got a list of guys here.
Oh, yeah, you got a board. Is that
Yeah,
your
I do. It's like my inspiration board. I just peek up and look at their names. So number one
cool.
of all time, number one influence, Sergio Topi.
Okay, I'm not familiar. So who?
Yeah, he's a Italian artist. He passed away in 2012, I think. But he was an Italian. I think he was a caricature artist for a while and did a lot of, I think, commercial illustration in Italy,
Mhm.
and then did a bunch of comic book work. And it's wild. Like, it's not his storytelling style isn't anything that I um, uh, emulate or anything like that.
Mhm.
But his rendering and his just kind of uh, his interpretation of fantasy is just so wild. It's a feast for the eyes, and he was prolific. So if you look him up, you're
Okay.
gonna have a field day. It's just
Yeah.
art wise, it just he blows my mind. He's my number one favorite. And then there's guys like Albrecht Dürer, who is this old medieval like woodcut guy who
Oh,
did
yeah.
all this weird
Okay.
stuff. And then there's comic book guys, which is Alex Toth, John Buscema, John Paul Leone, Mike Mignola.
Yeah.
A lot of the there's a lot of current guys too that
Yeah. Yeah. When I first seen your stuff in Darkroom, I thought this looks a little bit like Dan Mora, but more detail. I thought, and I
yeah.
like your stuff better, and I love Dan Mora, but
Yeah, he's great. So that's a
yeah.
huge compliment. Thank you.
Mm.
I wonder how much, because we had the same colorist. Like Tamara Bonvillain was the colorist for Once and Future,
Mhm.
and she was the colorist on The Dark Room as well. So I wonder if that similarity is in there.
Maybe some of that I'm picking up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it could be. But I did, I love his work, because when we were looking around at colorists, Jerry floated Tamara's name, and I had seen some of the stuff that she had done.
Mhm.
Can't remember the first one I looked at, and then I found Once in Future because it was kind of fantasy type
Yeah.
of craziness,
Yeah.
and
It is similar vein for sure.
yeah,
Okay.
and so I was like, whoa, this dude can draw. Like Dan Mora is just
And I think he's one of those that you can see a real progression.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
his current stuff is way better than what he did, 3 years ago.
Hmm.
Not that that was bad, but
Yeah, and
yeah.
I find that that's kind of how it works. I guess it works like that with everything. It's just the
Yeah, it
more
should.
time and
Yeah.
experience you put into it, you progress. Like you can look at chunks of The Dark Room, and you can see me kind of clicking a little bit here and there,
Do
and
you use a lot of photo reference for, like, objects and things?
as minimal as possible.
Okay.
And
I was just wondering because that one, page where it's toward the beginning, I think, and you see the photographs on the table
mhm.
and, like, the bird and all
Yeah.
that, and it looks so real. I thought, "Oh my goodness, surely he modeled that."
Yeah, no, there a few of those. I what I try to do, because I don't really have a very photorealistic style, so I want
I think
to.
you do at times. I see a little. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
especially with backgrounds, your buildings,
yeah,
some of that is pretty realistic,
yeah,
I think.
yeah. I mean, in a way, I mean, I guess comic book realism, like it can
Mhm.
dabble there. Like I think if I'm gonna put it anywhere, I'd rather put it in a background, so you get
Right.
that you
So you got
almost
more. fluid motion in the foreground, and then
Exactly, because
yeah,
I'm kind of the philosophy with figure work and stuff like that, that you know gesture kind of beats anatomy
yeah.
for
I've seen some
comic.
people put almost too much detail there, and it causes the characters to feel stiff, or they. I don't
Yeah,
know. It's hard to
yeah.
explain, but
Like I mean, certain parts call for it. Like if I'm doing a big splash page or a
mhm.
super tight close up, and it calls for it. But another thing that I learned is just, I mean, comics is the main thing is storytelling.
Yeah.
Like I can draw, I can draw stuff, but does it help the story at all? Is it going to actually detract if I do like too much detail here or there, or put too many lamps in the background or whatever? Is that going to
I think
detract
you
from
got
the
the balance right,
story?
man, because it's just I think it's fabulous. And
Yeah.
one thing that jazzes me a lot about your stuff is, especially now with current stuff, there's so many people that just, well, they don't do any background, or there's
Hmm.
just like a block of color,
Hmm.
and so it sort of takes me out in a way, and the dialogue almost has to totally carry it then.
Yeah.
But
I think.
yours are like little paintings almost, and I just love it, or big
Yeah,
ones.
thank you. Yeah, big pain.
Yeah.
Well, I think because it was an image book, creator owned, and we had
Mhm.
plenty of time to do it, and Jerry was very generous with kind of letting me work through, knowing that I'm a total beginner at comics, let me kind of work at my own pace. And I mean, for like my commercial jobs and stuff, I am fast. Like I am pretty well known
Awesome.
as like
Yeah,
I can turn things
just
around
get it done.
quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I wonder if, because I could take my time, because it was creator owned.
And an OGN, not a
Yeah,
collection, but
exactly. Like I wasn't,
yeah,
we weren't under the gun of like, all right, we've got to get this in a month. So I can see how people would, out of necessity, maybe cut corners,
yeah.
not do a super rendered
I
background.
I think I was reading comics in pretty similar story to yours, maybe a little earlier. I'm probably a little older than you, but it would and I liked that serialized stuff when I was younger, but now I really appreciate the OGN, the
Yeah,
original graphic novel,
yeah,
and having that a start and a middle and an end is just really
yeah.
satisfying.
And,
It's
and and Jerry and I had talked about that. It was like, that's the kind of book that I want to read. Like I love just
yeah,
picking up uh, you know, it's like watching a movie or something. Like I cannot get into TV series that it's like, oh, they're in season 13 now, and I'm like,
yeah.
okay, I can't commit to that.
It's
But if
hard.
it's like, I mean, I miss the days when it was like, back in the 80s and 90s, when everything was 90 minutes long and you knew exactly what you were going to get. Like I like that. That's what I want to pick up a book. I want to sit there. I want to read it. Pick up a graphic novel, read it through, get
Mhm.
the whole story, and be
Well,
like,
like I said
oh,
in my review, I want at least 4 or 5 more of these though, man. I'm in.
yeah, we'll do
Totally
our
in.
best.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So do you work on uh digitally or paper, or do you got a combination that you do?
Um, I do. I'm about 99.9% digitally now. When I first started my illustration career, I was doing like pen and paper stuff. But just for those types of jobs, especially when, like, say for the Harry Potter stuff, for example,
Mhm.
there's a lot of um, character stuff you have to do. Like I had to draw the actors playing the
Yeah.
characters and everything, and there are a lot of revisions on that. It's like,
Mm.
oh, because it has to get signed off by the management team. So anyway, there's a lot of revisions, there's a lot of changes, and I would be like, drawing and then scanning, or if the drawing was huge, I'd have to go to FedEx to their massive scanner
Ah,
and scan
gotcha.
that in. So I was just like, it's unsustainable, from a business sense.
So
So I
you
got
just
the whole,
leaped all the way into the computer.
yeah, and it wasn't, I got software called Clip Studio Paint, which used to be Manga Studio, which is specifically for comic books.
Okay.
And it was a very easy transition going from pen and ink to this with my whole setup. And I was like, oh, okay, all right, that's easy. And then I
Does
learned,
it take away one, problem, I guess, with as far as that your media would run out or that your pen would mess up, or is all that
yeah,
kind of gone? I mean,
yeah,
I mean, you have
like,
technical problems probably though, right?
yeah, no, not really. Very,
Not really.
very few, luckily. But yeah, I remember years ago, I kind of calculated how much time it saves me, and I was like, this honestly, it saves me like an hour and a half on the day, maybe more out of like, a 10-hour day. It's shaving off like 2 hours. I remember the day that I was like, that's it, I'm going digital, is I was trying to draw a big circle, and I had a compass, one of the old, with the two prongs and the
Oh
thing,
yeah,
draw a
the ones you
circle.
can really stab yourself with.
Yeah, and it was bigger. The circle I needed was bigger than the thing would open up. So I duct taped a pencil
To
onto
extend
one
it.
end, and I'm trying to do the circle, and it's all like the pencil's like bending off and the tape's
So
ripping,
now
and
it's
I
an
was just like,
oval. Now,
yeah, and I was like, I'm done. I'm going digital. So now I just like press a button, and a circle, perfect circle appears. So
and having that project file you can just keep returning to, I
yeah.
guess it's super great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And once I'm done drawing, it's like I can draw right up till the very end of the day, and then whoever the creative director, art director is, Jerry, be like, boop boop boop. Here, how about this? And send it right over, right from what I'm doing. Or
Yeah.
sometimes they'll be like, oh, that's great. Can you give me a different file type or something like that? And
Right. And then that's just nothing, no problem.
yeah, so for illustration, I was very, very, very familiar with the comics drawing program, even though I had never done comics.
It's cool.
So when the opportunity came around to do the dark room with Jerry, I was like, oh yeah, I know this whole system.
Did he come at you with the story idea, or did you kind of get it all together? You're together?
Um, we we met up because I had done a variant cover for one of his other creator-owned things, and we met up. We did a signing down in at Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland, and we would hang out and like go get dinner and stuff, and just kind of like bounce some ideas around. And I think he had a general kind of idea that he was working on, but he's such a like generous creator. I've heard some writers will be like, here's the script, can you draw this, and
And you're locked. Yeah.
yeah. And this was more like I always say it's more like improv comedy. Like one person says something and you go, yes, and then you kind of work off of what they say, and it's back and forth. And like, he loves how I draw skulls. So he's like,
Yeah.
we got to make a skull guy. And I was like, yeah, let's do it.
Yeah. That skull guy on that cover in the tracksuit,
Yeah.
that everybody talked about that in all the different, YouTube things I've been in the chats and things. They're all like, I don't know what this is, but I'm buying it. Look at this tracksuit guy. Look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a real selling point. I guarantee it.
Yeah. He was one of our favorites for sure. Walter. Yeah. He's he's awesome. And it was just, he just came from my love of drawing skulls and Jerry's
that's awesome.
love
Outlaw just popped in. He said, I'm late. Well, watch what I missed. I bought the dark room based on Larry's review. Excited to dig in.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
Awesome.
Hope you enjoy it.
Thanks for being here. So another thing I was going to ask you, are you, or was you, and are you now a Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan?
Yes. Huge.
Okay, because I see, I mean, I know you didn't do the story by yourself, but there's so many sort of influences, I think, from that show, or the genre at least, anyway, I think.
Yeah, when I mean, back when it was on TV all the time. I was like hooked on that show.
Yeah.
As far as if there's any like dialogue type stuff, that wouldn't be. I had nothing to do with that. That's all.
Yeah, I don't really see it so much that. I think just sort of the tone and the general genre
Yeah.
that it is, you know.
Yeah, I think it's probably kind of the horror aspects
Yeah.
mixed with humor.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, which Buffy did an amazing job at that. I did a whole bunch of variant covers for Buffy comic, the one for Boom Studios, and then
Oh, okay.
Angel spin-off and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome.
but yeah, I can see the similarities.
Yeah. So I know you told me there's going to be a book 2. I mean, the book 1 pretty much tells you there's going to be a book 2, but
Yeah.
yeah. And you think next year?
Yeah, we're shooting for late next year. I'm actually working on some pages today. So
Awesome.
yeah, and I mean, it's so wild. Like I mean, like book 1 got pretty bonkers in some areas, and I think we really started. Jerry and I really, I think, work well together, and we're very, very much on the same page. And so, you know, a few months ago, I just floated him. Like, I had a few days waiting for client feedback or whatever, and I was just doing my thing, just drawing weird stuff, and I just sent him over like, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 pages of just random weird characters. And he's like, oh, let's use that guy. Oh, let's use that guy. And so he kind of, that's what I was saying as far as the improv, like he'll write something and I'm like, oh, cool. And I'll draw something. And he's like, oh, I didn't expect you to draw it like that, but that's cool. And like, he'll write a little story around what I come up with. And we just go back and forth.
That is wild.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun process.
Yeah. So are you doing any other comic projects sort of simultaneously or
no?
Not really.
No, it's just buckling down. The dark room's my main priority.
Awesome.
Just because since we wrapped the first book, which was a while ago, and I've just been itching to get back. You know, jumping back to how we were talking about Dan Mora earlier, just the more you do it, the more you tweak and figure things out. And I keep learning. The more I do it, the more I learn. So I've just been itching to get back into it. So,
yeah. You know, I was talking about your buildings earlier, and that one splash page toward the beginning, I believe, shows that I don't know if it's a brownstone, but it's a big building.
Yep.
I see a little bit of Bernie Wright's in there, I think, you know?
Yeah. You know, it wasn't intentional, but it's really hard to not be influenced by Bernie Wright.
Yeah. Especially if you're doing anything creepy. I mean,
I mean, he was, you know, the master of it. I don't think I have the patience to do all the hash marks and feathering and stuff like that. It's not my style, but yeah.
Well, I hope you're always given the time, because I that's what I like. I like the really heavy detail and just the beautiful, fully rendered look that your stuff has.
Yeah, it's kind of impossible for me to get away from, as much as I try to simply. I mean, the goal is to refine down to like Toth levels, but it's impossible for me to do. I get in there and I'm like, oh well, I'm just gonna draw every little grain of wood on this wall.
All the hash marks. Outlaw's checking your IG out here. I just checked your IG. I lived in ATL for a while, where Mastodon is from. I've seen your posters floating around the web before. Uh-oh. I think he froze again.
Oh, we're back.
Are you back?
Yeah.
Okay, I was just reading Outlaw's comment aloud. I try to do that because some people listen to these while they're doing their housework. So if we don't read the comments,
Yeah, I did. I've done, that's really cool. Yeah, I've done something like 6, 7, 8 Mastodon posters over the years, but they're really, really good guys and very, very good band. I like those guys because they're a very hands-on band, very DIY work ethic, which is really respectable.
So you said late next year, book 2?
Yeah, book 2.
How far has he mapped it out? Do you have any idea how far it could go?
Yeah.
Or is it sort of based on?
Well, I think, well, who knows what he has in total in his head,
Right.
but I think he has most of 2 generally mapped out. We had a talk a few weeks ago, a phone call, and he was telling me about it, and I was just like, I was so excited. I was like, oh man, I can't wait to draw that. I can't wait to draw that. I can't wait to draw that. It's so wild, and I think it's just fitting the pieces together and making it make sense.
Would you ever work for like the big 2 on a company owned property, or would you not want to get in that grind?
I don't know. I'm very, very happy with creator owned stuff.
I agree with you. I was just wondering what your take on that was. But
I think I'd probably, there's some properties that I would really like to work on.
Swamp Thing original graphic novel.
Yeah, that would be sweet. That would be, and that's not the first time that's been brought up.
Yeah, all right.
Not in any official capacity, not by
just like, the idea.
Yeah, the idea has been brought up. I would like to do it, if only just to, you know,
have it in your portfolio.
If only just for my 12-year-old self.
Oh,
You know, like go back in time and give him the Swamp Thing or whatever I drew. But I also think it could be fun. I like to be challenged, and with the, you know, the rate of just like, yeah, we got to get this out the door, speed it up. I want to see if I could do, you know, a monthly book or something like that. Not that I necessarily think that I would want to, but
right. I
don't know. I'd like to someday maybe try it out, just do like a little one shot or something. But like I said, I mean, the dark room's my thing, and creator room's kind of
Outlaw's got something else here. Have other writers reached out with the success of this book? Some Hickman or Remender story looks right up your alley.
No, nobody's. Well, a couple people have gotten in touch, but scheduling wise, it just didn't work out. The thing that I found is comics is a lot of work. It is a lot of work. It just time wise. Especially when you're, you know, penciling and inking and your own stuff. And again, I'm new at this. You know, I hadn't drawn anything sequential since 1991, maybe 92.
That's incredible, because no one would have guessed. I'm telling you that.
Yeah, so the first 8 pages in the dark room, the prologue for the book is literally the first comic, anything, panels, pacing, anything comic book related.
That's amazing. But you know, you had it in your DNA since you were a little kid, though. That's why.
Yeah, it's been in here, and I think I absorbed enough through my eyeballs to kind of make sense of it. And you know, with all the resources now, I think it made it way easier. Jerry introduced me to a lot of really nice people who I got to pick their brains, and you know, just doing a Google search, watching a YouTube channel of like a technique breakdown or whatever, why
Mhm.
this pacing works. Those are really helpful. There's tons of books. I got so many books on just visual storytelling. There was a lot of really, really, really helpful comic professionals that I just reached out to. I follow them on social media and then just
Mhm.
message them, and then they follow me back, and we end up having big conversation back and forth on, just storytelling and comic art and stuff.
That's awesome. I
Yeah,
would like to see your. I would like to see you do Conan. I'd like to see.
that
I
would be
bet
fun.
you could do a killer Conan,
That would be fun. I mean, that is the
and all the monsters you could throw in there. I mean,
yeah,
just,
giant
yeah,
snakes and wizards and stuff like that.
yeah. The
Yeah.
wizards with a skull head.
Yes. It's right up my alley.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, that stuff would be
You would
fun.
play great on Walking Dead property too, I would think.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually did years ago. I was working on the Walking Dead, the official Walking Dead coloring book.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and it was for the TV show.
Okay.
And I had finished the book, like 120 pages or whatever it was, 90 to 100 something pages done. And then they were like, we have a licensing problem. So the publishing
Mm.
company had AMC all locked down, but I guess they didn't get the permission from Image. So I think they ended up anyway, it got canceled. And I was like, I put in all that work, and I was like, oh, well, my career's over now. But whatever, it wasn't. But it's funny because now years later, I'm doing my own thing for Image, which is
That's
is
awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Well, maybe those pages could be a one-shot gallery type thing one day.
Yeah. Well, it was very, very different style. It was
Oh, it's
like
very specifically a
yeah,
line with
because
openings for crayons, I guess.
yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
I had to get the likenesses down of the
Cast at the time. Yeah.
the cast. Yeah, we had like 3 cast members that were allowed to be in the book, so I had to draw them pretty exact. So really, if you were to look at it, if you were to see any of those pages, you wouldn't know it was me. You would just kind of
Right.
think it was just anybody.
None of that lavish detail that
None of that.
we
No.
got at Darkroom. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I was blown away. I mean, I kind of wonder. It didn't seem like they had any fanfare for it, or at least I didn't hear any buzz ahead of time too much. When
Yeah.
this came out.
It was.
Just kind of snuck out there.
Oh, I think you froze up, or maybe I froze up.
I don't know. I think you just froze now. Maybe we're both freezing.
Well, we're back.
Are you back?
Yeah.
Maybe we both might have glitched. I don't know.
Yeah. So what were you saying? There wasn't. I mean, Image pushed it a little bit. Jerry did through all his social media stuff.
Okay.
I pushed it the best I could. I had a much smaller follower count around
Okay.
when the
Gotcha.
book came out, so it didn't really.
Yeah, I stumbled on a trailer for it the other day. It was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it until just more recent. But
yeah, it was. Me personally, I have a pretty quiet social media presence. Like I'm
Yeah.
there and I post my stuff, but it sucks, but I can't do.
You can't live on there. You're not gonna get anything else.
Yeah, I can't do I self promote, but I'm just not good at it. Like I can't do it. Some guys, some friends of mine are just wizards at it. I don't know. They're just so good and they create buzz, and I'm just like, I can't be on there enough.
I have a cat interruption here.
A special guest.
Yeah, she likes to walk across the desk and she'll fall asleep with her head on the keyboard and press enter and man, yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
It's cute, but
Yeah. But yeah, I think we kind of always Jerry and I think always thought that it was going to be kind of not a slow burn, but I don't know if you ever watched that Discovery Channel show with the where they're the crab fishermen.
I don't know if I've seen a whole one, but I know what you're talking about.
All right, so what they do is they throw their pots over the pots are the big crab basket things that they catch them in. They just throw them overboard, and they drive off miles and miles to throw more pots and everything, and they just leave them sitting at the bottom of the ocean. They call it soaking their pots. Okay. And they'll come back like, weeks later, whatever, to pick up their pots and they're full. So I always thought of this as just like, we'll put it out there and we're soaking our pots. Like,
see how it does. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I always thought that the coolest way to get buzz was like organically, not just, like word of mouth, like, oh, cool. I read this cool book, somebody like you with a YouTube channel just randomly finding it and being like, this is really cool. And then
Nick Tucker's got it on the way, he says.
Awesome. Yeah. Hope you enjoy it, Nick.
I tell you one thing that the kind of community that I'm with is all about collected editions, or in this case, it's an original graphic novel, but a lot of us, we like the big oversized hardcovers, and so we are super grateful that this came out in the format we love.
Yeah, that was all Jerry's idea.
Okay.
Again, because I didn't really know the business, but he was like, I think that the kind of larger format ones are the way to go. Like just
there's about like 6 or 7 different formats out there, and and some people are really get bent when they don't, they don't stay consistent with it.
Yeah.
DC's notorious for that. They'll put out a book in the standard size and then put out the next volume in a slightly different size, and it just it's.
Yeah, I've seen some shelves, and I'm like, I can't deal with that. But all ours will be the same size.
Yeah, for a lot of us, the oversized hardcover like this is just that's the one. That's the perfect size. That's what we love.
Yeah. And again, going back to kind of the things that making a book that we like to read, like as far as the size of it, like just big beginning to end, one story type of thing. We also like it that size. Like I like picking up a hardcover.
Well, especially when you have a book with such fantastic artwork, it sucks to have them, like a standard comic size, even though that's what me and you grew up with.
Yeah.
How great is it to have that oversized?
Yeah.
And you see it, not quite 11 by 17, but it's certainly closer to what was the original size. How does that translate to digital? I was wondering, because
what I do, because I'm a Luddite and I don't really understand technology that well, and B, coming from a traditional, pen and ink background, I have like a big Wacom screen. It's like 22 inches or something. So it's big.
So that's will fit the entire original size of a Bristol board then, right? I mean,
it will sideways because it's horizontal. So what I do is I lock my canvas at like 3 different sizes. I have thumbnail size, so I don't get too noodly at the layout thumbnail stage when I'm just kind of designing the panels, and that's really small. Then I have print size, which is the 6 point whatever times 10 point whatever.
Right.
And then I have 11 by 17. So I just press like the plus minus buttons and it cycles through those.
That's
and
awesome.
When I'm drawing, I just have it as an 11 by 17. So I treat it like it is traditional analog art. And I don't zoom way in, because you get yourself into trouble if you do that.
And I know one thing you don't do is copy paste, because if you had, I sure didn't catch it. I'm not seeing any copy paste panels.
Yeah, no copy.
A lot of people cheat that way. I know that.
Yeah, and I get it. People have deadlines,
Yeah, they're
but
time crunch, I guess. But
yeah, but I also, because a lot of this was me learning, and I don't think that, and I had the time to get into detail and draw everything, but also because it was a big opportunity to learn. If I was just copy pasting all over the place, I would be cheating myself out of learning.
And a lot of big names that do that. I mean,
yeah.
And I think it's kind of. I mean, yeah, I get why, but I still don't like it. It's almost like backing tracks for bands. I know they do that, and I understand why, but I still don't like it.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I completely understand why people do it, but it wasn't. I guess it wasn't part of my style, and it wasn't part of. It wasn't a necessity for this one.
Okay, I guess that's for both of us. He likes our shirts. Thank you, Outlaw. He's Outlaw's asking about your stuff here. He says, so you do band posters and are working on the darkroom. What do you feel like you spend most of your time with in terms of your artwork? What do you like the most?
Well, band posters, I don't do many of those too much anymore. Spend most of my time either doing kind of merchandise design for my own shop. Like I do these like daily drawings and post them up, and then I'll put them on my Threadless store, and they have like, they put them on skateboards and sneakers and stuff like that. But comics is my main thing. So even if I don't have script pages that I'm not working on, I'm like drawing pages and pages of feet or facial expressions or cars or perspective, stuff that's never going to see daylight. I'm not going to post it anywhere, but it's all my practice stuff. So even when, if I'm not
exercise.
And it's just repetition.
I guess Scott found your merch there. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so I do that, the merch stuff for like just, kind of my daily stuff, but I have my commercial jobs, but my brain is 100% in comics. So
yeah. Well, if you start doing the comic conventions, I think you're going to have more work than you probably will ever want, as far as requests for you to draw a Swamp Thing or a zombie, a flaming skull, Ghost Rider. I mean, that I'd like to see you draw a Ghost Rider too.
Ghost Rider. I actually did a not too long ago, just for fun, like fan art. It was like Rider Junior. It was like a little kid with a flaming skull, and he was on one of the big wheels. Like,
oh wow, that sounds great.
Yeah, Ghost Rider would be a good fit for me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Have you read any of Garth Ennis's Ghost Rider stuff he did?
I have not.
He did a bunch of. I think they were all minis, maybe in the early 2000s, I believe. And it's just so far out there, because all Garth Ennis's stuff is just so way over the top.
Yeah,
and he would probably be a good fit for you too, I bet.
Yeah.
He.
I mean, because I didn't read comics for so long, it's kind of awesome, because I have so much stuff to catch up on.
There's so much material now. There's no one can absorb it all. There's so much. It's like TV. TV's the same way.
Yeah, and I tend to, one thing I tend to do is I read a lot of comics digitally first. Mm-hmm. And if I find myself going back to them over and over and over, then I end up buying the physical copies. And there's just, so the ones that I have in my library here are just the ones that I've read 100 times and I never get sick of. Lately, I've been getting into just buying up every artist edition that I can find.
Oh yeah.
I just got, it's like my holy grail. Hang on, I'll grab it for you.
Okay.
I was saying I was going to put this on a, some stone pedestal where if it got removed, like a boulder would come down.
Right, with the booby traps.
John Paul Leon's Wintermen Artist Edition.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
It is beautiful. I don't know if you can see any of this stuff.
Yeah, that shows up
you
good.
can see all his pencil marks and all the whiteout and
all that. Wow.
It's beautiful. And because he passed away kind of really unexpectedly to everybody, I guess, they went ahead and I guess Zoop is the company that put that out, but I guess like all the money went to his wife and child and stuff like that, which I thought was really awesome.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, but it's a beautiful book. So, and I have a couple of the Mignola, of the Hellboy in Hell Artist Edition. I have the Amazing Screw on Head Artist Edition.
Yeah, we're kind of in a golden age of collected editions. I mean, they're putting out almost everything slowly, in some cases, and other cases they're going full speed. Like you were talking about Conan earlier. Yeah. They have Marvel. I mean, they gave the license up again. I don't know if you knew that, but they did. Yeah. But all of the regular Conan series is going to be collected in omnibus before, which is going to be 10 volumes. I have I have every one that released so far, so I think I got to have 2 more when they come out. So that's pretty awesome to have all of that.
Yeah.
In giant omnibuses.
Oh man, jeez. I'm gonna have to spend some money, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
Yeah,
they were doing the same thing with Savage Sword, the magazine.
Mm-hmm.
But that thing it's taken so much, and they're not going to finish it.
Yeah, who was going to put that out? The new. I think
it's. I want to say Titan. That might be right. And they have said that they're going to continue them.
That's awesome.
And they claim they're going to have the same look and size, but it won't say Marvel on the spine.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I actually just saw Jim Zub, and I forget the artist. The art looked wild, so good.
You mean as far as new stuff? Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're coming out with a new one, but
I don't think Outlaw's seen the very beginning of this, but he said, "Do you have a Mount Rushmore of comic artists?"
My Mount Rushmore of comic artists. Yes, I do. Sergio Topi is number 1, who I guess a lot of people hadn't really heard of. John Paul Leon, John Buscema, Mike Mignola, Alex Toth. There's so many good current ones too. We're gonna have to add a lot more heads onto Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, it's gonna have to go all the way around.
Yeah.
Me and you both, but yeah.
Yeah. Chris Samnee is just blows my mind.
And Nick Tucker saying the same thing I just said. Your work would translate well to a Conan series.
Thank you.
Or even better, a Conan graphic novel.
Oh,
not a series, but a.
Ooh. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, Jerry did the Savage Sword for a little while.
I think he did. Joseph Peterson says, "I got that Rocketeer Artist Edition. Amazing how good those Artist Editions look."
Yeah. They look so good, and from an artist standpoint, to be able to, you really get a good insight in the artist's decision making by seeing the pencils and what was erased and
what stayed.
And what stayed, and like just even their like tape marks or where they masked something off or just shifted, or you can see where the pencils were initially, but they didn't quite ink all the way up to it. They decided last minute, like, oh no, this needs a little more space over here or something. But it's a really good kind of.
Would you ever let someone ink your stuff, or will you always say, no, it's mine?
My pencils are pretty chaotic, so I don't think I would want to have to tighten those up to a point where an inker could make sense.
You'd have to change your whole process, wouldn't you? Really?
Yeah, it just because, it just wouldn't. I don't think it would work. Like I'm the only,
and it would probably never look as good.
That's what I don't know. I might be surprised, but never say never. But I right now.
When you talk about John Buscema, he didn't ink his stuff very much, but when he did, boy, it was spectacular. Wasn't it?
That's the good stuff. Is when he did it. Because there's a lot of things I would bore the hell out of my inker and drive them crazy because I would be like calling them or texting them and be like, oh, what I meant by
don't
this
do that.
line was, or not even correcting them, but just telling them what I meant. Like, I'm in my own head. I know like a little pull off of a pencil means that I do my little loopy.
Right. You don't have to put notations in the margins.
Yeah, exactly.
You see that in some of the original art, lots of notations and directions.
And I think it's streamlined if I just ink my own stuff.
And Nick Tucker's got a question about those art editions. Do they still have the dialogue, or is it just the art? I don't actually have any of those. So
yeah, just let me see the Winterman one. Yeah, it's just the art. Sometimes you can see they've masked off something for like a little caption box. Because and I'm sure somebody like a master like John Paul Leon takes into account the caption boxes or the word balloons or something like that, because they weigh so heavily into a composition of a comic panel. I'm sure he had some awareness, but mostly I think the letterer just went back over. I'm sure John Paul.
Yeah, I always kind of wondered about that, on who makes the decision on the balloon placement. Is it the letterer?
Yeah,
I guess it would be, wouldn't it? Right?
Yeah, it is. And I can only speak from my experience, but I try to be conscious. You try to be aware. Give them enough room to work.
Where they don't cover up something important, maybe.
Yeah, and if they have to, they have to. Like we had Joe Sabino in our book, who is amazing.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and I fully trust anybody who's working on the book to do their job and do it well, and they did.
The letterers are one of those things where, yeah, go ahead. Oh, I think we lost him again. He should be back.
And we're back.
Yeah, got you back. Okay.
Yeah. So I was
talking about the lettering. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to give them room to work. I'm not really, super specific on where I want the things to be. I want to put my things in an area that works for me and gives him room to work to do his work.
Yeah, I was going to say the letter is really, I think most of us fans really only notice them probably when they're bad, really.
Yeah.
I mean, that's.
Yeah. I mean,
or when they choose a weird font that doesn't work.
Yeah. It is an art form unto itself. It really is.
Yeah, for sure.
I wish letterers got a lot more
credit,
respect, and credit and stuff. It's good.
Is it Orzechowski that did X-Men for like 30 years? Is that who I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
But like Claremont's X-Men run had the same letterer for, 20 plus years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's important. I think Jerry works with Joe Sabino on most, if not all, of the creator owned stuff that he does. And we knew that our, this was a team effort. Jerry and I are the co-creators and artist and writer combo, but this book wouldn't be what it is if not for Tamara on colors, Joe on letters, and Elliot Gray with the design work. And we knew that, and that's why we put.
Yeah, I was just looking at the cover. You got them all prominently right there too.
Yeah, like
So that's pretty cool.
We wanted to make sure everybody was on there because everybody is equally important on that book. Like everybody did a really great job.
Did you guys have a page count in mind for that, or was it just what it was? I mean,
roughly we were like, we'd probably go a little over 100. And we ended up, it was like, we knew it was going to be like maybe like 100 to 120 or something like that.
Right,
but
right.
Kind of like
so you had a framework, I guess, but
yeah. And then it was like, the story will end where it wants to end within
cool.
that frame. And, we knew we'd be doing other books. So,
I'd like to see about 5 or 6 of these in this format. And then a huge library edition that's even larger, about a click larger, with all of them there. About 500 pages.
Yeah, we can put it on.
I'm in for it, man. I will double dip. I will.
Yeah, like we can put it on one of those like the pedestals they have in like the old Catholic churches that hold the giant ones, and they have like the ribbon to hold your place in the book and stuff.
Well, you're making that up, but you've seen the Dark Horse Library editions, right? I mean,
I haven't.
You haven't? Okay, well, they're even bigger than that.
Jeez.
I mean, not a lot, but you've seen the DC Absolutes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're about that size, I think. Close to that.
Big boys. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I'd be cool with that if we had.
Yeah, I mean, I love what we got. Don't get me wrong. It's great.
Yeah, hopefully someday we can do one of those.
Yeah, Fraser Robinson says, yes, ribbons, please. Yeah, everybody in this community, we love ribbons.
Yeah,
ribbons,
classy touch.
Yeah, we like them. Yeah. It says hit tab for the dialogue. Okay.
Yeah, the Wintermen doesn't. I don't think Hellboy and Hell Artist Edition does. I don't know.
Yeah. Might just vary then.
Yeah. I do want to get the I think Chris Samney has I think it's Daredevil. Was it Mark Waid and Chris Samney?
An omnibus?
Yeah. Or I think they have an artist edition, I think.
Oh, okay. I don't know.
I was actually looking at the old Gene Conlon Dracula.
Gene Colan.
Gene Colan.
Yeah.
Dracula.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of his too. Yeah.
Yeah, they have an artist edition of that, I believe.
The Tomb of Dracula.
Yeah. And I was
like, I'd like to have that. I have the 3 Omnis that collect all those.
Yeah.
I would like to have that artist edition.
I'm gonna bug my
that was a tragedy losing him. I mean,
yeah,
that guy was he just was like a painter,
Yeah. Legend. I mean, that was the stuff. Looking at that stuff as a little kid was, I mean, it created that sense of awe and wonder, but also at the same time, like I can never do that. And even like as an adult, like I'm a professional illustrator and I've been doing this for
pretty incredible.
Time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I still can't do that. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, Outlaw agrees about that Daredevil run, Waid and Samney.
Yeah. So good. I mean, I want that artist edition because I want to see the peek into Firepower is great. I agree.
Yeah. I've seen a little of that. I don't have it, but I've seen some of that.
One of my favorite books that, like I was saying, that if I read them enough digitally that I end up buying it is Waid and Samney's Black Widow. I read that so much.
I've heard a lot of good stuff about it. Yeah.
Man, it is so good. And just, I think Samney's storytelling in that is just chef's kiss. Like I got
a little digest-sized Thor that he did. Can't
Mhm.
remember what it's called now. Got Jane on the cover with him. They're like swinging or flying across the.
Yeah,
Yeah, really good stuff.
he's just so good. And yeah, and Firepower's great. Just like super entertaining book. Just
Mhm.
and just that, you know, Somni wizardry. Like it's just he's so good. He's so good.
Yeah, yeah. There's just too much good stuff out there now, isn't there?
There really is. It's a good time to be a comic fan.
Yeah.
There's so many talented people.
Well, we've been on for over an hour. I guess I ought to let you go and get back to more skulls.
Yes.
I see the one behind you too. You got a skull right next to your pumpkin.
Yeah, and I got this little guy here too.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you coming on, man. It's been great. Had a good time.
Thanks for having me on. This was it was fun. We'll have to
Yeah,
do it again when book 2 rolls
Yeah,
out.
I was going to say, you're welcome back anytime, and that'd be awesome. Get you on before, maybe right before book 2 comes out.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll get in touch.
Or anything else you wanna promote.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, right now it's just I'm in the dark room part
mode.
2.
Right.
So
Awesome.
yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody coming out in the chat.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, Nick said later, guys. Thanks.
Later, Nick.
All right. I want to end it here. Bye.